me see, is it going? It's starting up now. Okay, hello everybody, and welcome to part 3 of drawing baby girl. It's episode 19, so if you want to go back and do some other drawings on your spare time, go ahead and do that. I'm going to start off by saying that next week I will not be available. The following week we'll see. It depends on how things go while I'm away. And for the reference photo today, you can find it on the Vinci Eye App Facebook group. If you aren't a part of the group, please answer all the questions that are in it, and then I'll go and check them and see if you qualify for joining. If you don't have that Facebook group and you want to draw today with me, you can also go to my Facebook page, which is charitylowsart. It's also posted there in the features. Also, I have posted it in the iOS version of the app under my profile, which is charitylowsart, all lowercase, no spaces. And all you have to do is go and press the little idea, like light bulb thing, and it should pop up there, as well as some other stencils that I've made. And yeah, so let's get started, and we'll start with the tools that I'm using. So I have an 11 by 14 inch paper. It is Bristol board. Drawing paper will work too, or mixed media. I also like to use those as well, but Bristol's my favorite. You can use whatever you have. It doesn't matter. This is for practicing purposes, but just letting you know. I have, for pencils, I have a 4H, HB, 4B, and 8B pencil, a mechanical pencil, which I just recently added to my list, and a black watercolor pencil, but you can substitute this for a darker graphite pencil if you have one, a black colored pencil, charcoal, whatever you feel like works for you. And then I have 2 blending stumps, a bigger one and a smaller one. The sandpaper that comes in with an art tool, like the art kit, to clean it. Toilet paper for blending larger areas. You could use tissue paper or paper towel. Just don't use your hands, because the oil will get onto the page and it will make it very hard to erase anything that goes on top of that. For erasers, I have a kneadable eraser, mechanical eraser, and this is the wrong eraser, and an electric eraser that spins when you push this little button. Hello, Raven, my #1 fan. And then you're going to need a blank piece of paper. You could also get like little gloves to put on for the same reason. This prevents accidentally smudging anything. So just rest your hand on that while you're working on a section. So here we go. And just before I get into drawing, I had the bottom and the top of it lined up last time. So I just tried to get it all lined up again, making sure it stays in the camera view so that it helps with any little tiny misalignments, which shouldn't happen, but not perfect technology yet. I still think the app is wonderful. It's just a little thing if you had it at an angle. It keeps it in place for the most part, but there are a few little minor things that might bother people. Yeah. And then for myself, I'm going to record and resume because I want to post this later. Strobe, I'm going to turn that on, and the opacity all the way up. And then we're going to zoom in to the area that we were working on. I'm going to let, there's like a little overlap where I've already worked on it. And then it looks like I've worked on this little section right here. So that is the square we're going to work on today. Say that again about how to keep it lined up, please. So what I find okay, let's go back. Just make sure the very top, like you guys, like first time setting it up. So the very top is just shown like the same thing where the bottom of it's showing, so it fills up as much as the page as possible while seeing the entire drawing. That helps me. That helps me keep it aligned. It also makes it so that the time-lapse video looks nice and steady and it's not all over the place. Just making sure I get all the area that I was working on showing so I can get that done. So I'm taking the black watercolor pencil and I'm just filling in those really dark areas. There is spaces between the hair that are not as dark, so I'm going to try to preserve that for later, not adding that really dark, the dark pencil onto that. So it'll all blend in later. I'm just looking for those really, really dark strands. Let's turn on the auto director so it moves around so you can see at different angles. I forgot about that. Also, something I should have mentioned at the beginning of this video, if you do not have the Vinci Eye app and would like to try it before you buy it, I do have promo codes for both the iOS and the Android. For the iOS, it's charity, all capitals. For Android, you're going to have to contact me. You can contact me through my email, which is posted down below, or find me on my Facebook page, which is charitylowsart, and I will give you your personalized one-time promo code for the iOS. Everyone has to have their own for some reason. I don't know why. There's such a subtle difference between the different tones of the dark areas. So I'm just really trying my best with seeing those and catching them, but it's not going to be perfect. I'm not putting a lot of pressure on this right here, just kind of more of a blending step, soft pressure. And I'm going to take my 8B pencil and I'm filling in the rest of those dark areas. You can do the strokes to follow the direction of the hair, which will give it more texture and look more realistic. But you don't need to go all the way from the top of the head all the way down to the bottom with one line. That actually isn't as realistic as it may sound to be, because hairs like to overlap each other and change positions as it's going down, especially with curly hair, and she's got some wavy hair. And then I'm just going to add a little bit because it's kind of darker on the ends of this curl and lighter in the center. Hair, like lines for the hair, instead of just circular motions on top of that, just to create some texture. Oh, whoa, that is so loud. Why did that do that? Are you guys awake? Are you guys awake now? really sorry for that. I have no idea why it just bursted so loud. I'm gonna have to put warning jump scare for this video. Okay, now I'm going to be working on shadowing on the ear and around the ear. So this is just on that very edge of the cheek. I'm adding some more shadowing there because it is darker on the reference photo than it is on my drawing. Just using some circular motions for easy blending later. I'm really just trying to match the shadowing that I see. And then just looking for the teeny tiny shapes that are being created by the shadows, the change of the darkness and the lightness. And some of them are very faint, but if you can catch them, that would be awesome. But it's a skill that takes time and practice. Your hair looks like strings. Like, it's okay for parts of it here and there, but just do smaller strokes. Okay, I'm going to clean this blending stump, the bigger one. So what I do is I just rub it and turn it. One of the, what is it? I can't remember the name of this little metal thing that binds things together. It came off. That is very dirty. Yeah, I'm going to try not to do this over my artwork because I don't want it to smudge everywhere. That is, I'm going to need a new sandpaper thing. Put it on my list for when I go shopping again. Oh man, it's falling apart on me. Look at this. So just circular motions for the side of the cheek. Go ahead and blend it out even further than what you can see. Just a little bit, not too much. I'm going to take the toilet paper and just very lightly kind of drag some of that all across the ear. Just very lightly, like a feather touch. I'm just going to blend this little dark area underneath or behind the ear here. I better go shopping. Yep, I need to get some new stuff. Should take you on a shopping spree instead. Just take you guys with me. So instead of the sandpaper, we can use a blank piece of paper or some paper towel to clean that off. It's not going to clean it off as well as the sandpaper does. Oh, I forgot a spot. I looked down at my drawing and there's a little bald spot right here I need to fill in. So I'm using the AB pencil and I'm just filling that in. And then I'm going to blend it with the big blending stump, just pushing it into the paper mostly. I'm going to grab some of the highlights that are on the ear with using the kneadable eraser, just putting it to a point at the end. And just light pressure. We don't need to put too much pressure on it. I get a lot of my supplies from eBay. eBay? Be an interesting place to get supplies. Never would have thought about that. Might be cheaper that way too. I'm going to take the mechanical eraser and I'm going to just do those highlight, almost like lines on the very edge where it goes into the ear canal, just out covering the ear canal. And then the top part where it's got that little crease going, and I'm going to drag a line across the ear because there's a hair there that's touching the light, so it's a bit brighter. Now we're gonna go back to the hair and we're just gonna get those little strands of hair. Most of this you can just wing it. I would get the ones that are really noticeable and kind of drag the ones that are above that to this section here. So when there's like some that stop right at that line, just drag a few of those down a little further so it looks more like it's connected to the rest. Most of them are free supplies, much better than Amazon. Yeah, I bet. I bet there's a lot of good free art supplies. Some people regret buying them and they're like, I don't want to start this hobby. It's too expensive. I'm just gonna do some kind of poking out, coming in, curling in. Just added a few extra little ones. And then we can move to the next section. We're gonna work on the skin, the temple and the cheek, and then we'll work on the hair and other details like the corner of the eye. We might actually wait until we can see the entire eye before we work on that. So I'm going to take the HB for now. I could always add more. It's easier to add more as you need it than to take away. But luckily graphite is pretty forgiving. So even if you accidentally do put too much on the drawing, you can erase it pretty easily. But still try get in the habit of slowly building up, because that will actually translate into other art mediums. So really trying to find those darker areas. So like, I'm gonna turn off the strobe for a minute. So right above the ear, there's like a triangular shape. Actually, I'll turn that back on so you can see. So there's like a triangular darker area right here. And then another like triangle right here. It's also darker closer to the hairline, and then it gets lighter on the way out. How do you get such a nice point on your pencil? The pencil sharpener is what changes it. I got this one from a gift, and it's oh gosh, I can't read here. So this one, I'll bring it up closer so you can read it, what it is. And it's got two different things on it for different sizes of pencil, and it does a really nice fine sharp, like a very long one. I don't know if I'm using words properly. So the pencil sharpener makes a difference. But yeah, if you just wanted to streamline, like go straight for something that works, that's what would work. Another thing that some artists do is they take a utility knife and they just cut it all the way down and leaving a bunch of space open for the graphite pencil. Okay, I'm going to start blending, and I'm using the toilet paper, and I'm blending in the shape or the form of the face. So when it comes to the triangle, kind of go on the edge and pull into the tip. And also the cheek. So it's a rounded area, so follow the cheekbone. And we can also drag that a little bit, just bring it in just a little bit, bring it into the rest of it. I think I'm going to be taking the 4H pencil and just getting those lighter shadows. Circular motions and light pressure as you're doing this so that it makes it easier for blending. A nice smooth surface for the skin. And then taking that toilet paper, finding a clean spot, and then just rubbing that in. Do large circular motions around that. Now there's a highlight just below her eye and like a line between the shadow and the highlight at the very corner. So I'm going to use the mechanical eraser just to draw out that line there. And then I'm going to take the knead eraser and have like more of a flatter tip to it and just dab on that cheekbone just underneath the eye. So I'm just sticking it on there and picking, just softly and picking it up. And then we're going to blend around the edges there again. Now we can work on the hair. And I'm just going to get those really dark hairs first. It's not like, you can't really see the individual hair very well, so just do the shape. So it's not going to be just lines, if that makes any sense. I don't know. Just watch. So this hair goes as high as this part and goes low down here, and then you fill in the rest. So it's a shape more than a line. I'm going to sharpen this. And then same with this section right here. It's a little like elongated oval. It's, yeah, more of a shape than an individual hair. And then I'm going to drag this hair a little bit more as well. And it looks like it connects to this one down here, but it's lighter in the center. So we're only going to be doing the dark area. And then we'll connect it later. And there's some really dark hairs that are lines that are just on the edge here. And just doing the really obvious ones first that are darker and thicker. And then also this black hair right here gets thicker on the top. It looks like it splits into another. It splits into two. There's a fork in the road. And then just grab that curl and bring it down. And there you have it. There's the darkest areas. I think I need to add a little bit more thickness to this section right here. I'm going to pull this up just ever so slightly so we can see what we've already done. That way it makes it easier to blend it into the rest of the drawing, making it look like a whole instead of just little squares all the way across. I'm not doing really as much pressure in this area right here, but I am still using the black watercolor pencil. And I'm just going to kind of blend in those shapes that we created earlier. So mostly focusing on the shape of the shadows of the hair than the texture at this point. Okay, I'm going to take the 4B pencil. Just try to mimic the shadows, I'm trying to think of the word. I'm having a word problem right now. Just get the right darkness of it. I'm just making up things, at least not things, but like describing with words, because words don't like me right now. Somebody get me a cup of coffee. So there's something I learned the other day that I thought was super cool, and I want to share it with you guys. I can't remember if it was Greek or Roman, but in one of those there was these really fine, super detailed statues, and you probably can imagine what I'm talking about. But the cool thing is that the heads and the arms were made to kind of like pop in and out so that they can change the faces and the poses of these statues to match the government or whatever, whoever's ruling at the time. So it'll change faces to be who's in charge or who won the war or whatever. It was super cool. I'm going to blend in that. Again, I'm not really focusing on the lines. I'm just focusing on the shape of the shadows. Now I'm going to add some lines on top of that. I'm going to blend in this little weird shape here by putting in a few strands just coming out. So more strands closer, less strands outward, further away. I'm going to take the mechanical eraser, and the only strays that I see, there's a few actually here. There's a couple of strays right here. And there's a little bit right here. And then time to move on to the next square. Okay, I'm gonna work on the face first. I'm gonna just make sure I can see the edge of the eye. That's gonna be my focus. So I'm gonna start with the skin. I'm going to use the HB pencil. We kind of we can add the eyebrows too as part of it for the shadowing and highlights. So we can include that. And then we'll just add very fine light hairs on top because they kind of really don't have eyebrows at this point in their life when they're young. I'm going to draw out the shape of the forehead because there is a bit of a shadow all the way around, but just very light pressure for that. And I'm going to also draw that line where the nose covers part of the eye. It's just a little line there. And it's not super dark for the rest of this, so I think I'm going to move to the 4H pencil to add some of those shadows. So there's one that goes up from the middle of that eye and fills in towards the side of the forehead. Just circular motions and light pressure. You can do the eyelid too, we can work on that. Just a little bit more pressure on this section, but not a lot. Then there's a shadow, a very light shadow between the eyebrows on the bridge of the nose. We'll just move that across. There's a bit of an arch. There's a bit of an arch right here, which is very barely noticeable, but try to keep that arch. And then there's a slight one that goes down, like a little curve that goes down from the top, and then fill in the middle. Now the far eyelid is a little darker than, like the right eyelid's a little bit darker than the other one. I'm going to add some more shadowing on the left now that I'm looking at it, trying to find the subtle differences, the shapes of the shadows and the highlights. And then light pressure, I'm doing a circle, a really big circle on the edge here, right from the center. Like just imagine the center of the forehead being a ball. And now we'll blend. Just blending in that circle and just go big and slowly get smaller, just to create that shape that we're looking for. So the order in which I like to work with eyes is the pupil, the iris, the white of the eye, the eyelids, both above and below, and then the eyelashes, because the eyelashes are such a fine detail and they're darker than the rest of the stuff. We can wait for that to be the last step. So we're going to go with the HB pencil again, and we're going to, it's such a small section, so make sure you have a nice steady hand while doing this, but we're going to do the pupil and the iris. So around the pupil is really dark on this one, and then not the pupil, the iris, the edge of the iris. And then of course the pupil is dark because it's a hole. And it's going to look a little funny at first. This one is just really dark on the other side. There's like nothing going on for highlights within the iris. Then we're going to take the teeny blending stump for the left one and just blend around the inner part of the iris. Just kind of pretending that the blending stump is a pencil itself. And all you have to do is just go in that around that area. And take the 4H pencil to shape out the whites of the eye. So I'm just tracing all around where the edge of the eyelids touch. And the white of the eye is darker on the top part where the eyelid hits and on the edges, and then the center's brighter. On this right side of this left eye, it's quite dark. This right eye doesn't really have lines to indicate because I think it's just such a fine detail that it didn't quite pick up on the camera. So I'm going to do the basic shadows of the eye. I'm going to still build up what we did before because I think it needs a little bit more depth. So it's dark in the center and dark on the edge where the cat eye would be if you were to do eyeliner. This part, when you're working on drawing the face, especially like eyes, it's like doing your own makeup. So above that crease is a little bit darker, and below and the corners darker as well. And then there's like a thin line that goes across, like a line of shadows. And then I'm going to work on the shadows that are underneath. I'm not really focusing on the line, believe it or not. I am actually just looking at the bigger areas of the shadows, and then I can add the lines. And I just realized there's a little bit of shadow down here on the cheek, and I'm gonna just kind of blend it into the other part that I was working on. And I'm gonna blend that out right here, just using the toilet paper. Okay, I'm gonna clean with my, I'm gonna clean my smaller blending stump with the really small piece of sandpaper that's still here. And I'm just gonna push in that shadows that I put in into the paper using circular motions. And then I'm gonna take my mechanical eraser. There's a little bit of a highlight here and down here. And then also right on the sides here. Now I'm gonna work on the finer details like the lines of the crease and the eyelashes. And I'm taking my mechanical eraser and working on those lines. So I'm gonna do the creases first. And the really dark shadows. And then taking that blending stump and just following the line. Okay, it looks like it's a little wonky, a little bit too dark. So I'm gonna just pick it up a little bit with the knead eraser with a fine tip that I create. Like, just pick it up ever so slightly. And then going back with that blending stump and just blending that out again. Okay, now for the eyelashes. This will bring it together. I'm gonna do the eyelash line, nice and dark. And then draw the eyelashes, and they're going curved. They're curving outwards on the one side, and they're curving a little bit inwards on the other side. And you can add a few little hairs in the middle. And I'm gonna add, okay, I need to bring that up a little bit. I just noticed that. Let's bring up that lash line up a little bit and get the really dark corners here. Nope. It is halfway through this video, so we're gonna take a break. Oh, my one camera's not working. Okay, we'll take a break and then we will do a quick Q&A. It's only going to take a couple minutes for me to just stretch out and grab something to drink. So yeah, see you guys in a minute. Oh. So it looks like one of my cameras is not working. So yeah. Anyways, if you guys have any questions, this is a good time to do so. If not, I will ramble on and on and on. I'm just kidding. I won't be rambling on and on. But again, I'll just go through what you guys can do during this live to make it more entertaining. You guys, well, for you, this is meant to be a draw along. So I do have the reference photos posted in 3 different areas now. One is the Vinci Eye App's Facebook group. It's in the features, one of the top part. You'd be able to find it there. Or you can go to mine, which is charitylowsart Facebook page, and it will also be in the features. Or if you're using an Apple phone or an Apple tablet, you can search up my profile, which I can show you guys that after this little thing here. So search for my profile, go into my inspirations, which will be a little button that looks like a light bulb, and you'll find the reference and a bunch of stencils that I created that you're more than welcome to use for whatever projects you have or just learn practice with. It's up to you. So my purpose here is to teach you how you can get the most out of the app. I'm also you're more than welcome to ask for me to do other mediums or other subjects, different sizes, how the features work. And I'm here to answer as many questions as you have. So yeah, I am not the app developer. I am just an artist who found the app just like you guys and absolutely love it. So I am quite lucky to be working with them, and yeah, it brings me lots of joy that I can help you guys. I don't know what's going on. No, disconnect. Sorry about this. Okay, well, we'll deal with what we have. So to search my profile, just just for a quick thing here. So we're gonna go, sorry, I'm gonna stop this. We're gonna go back. I'll show you where to go. Leave drawing. Okay, into the home. There's three purple lines that are at the top left corner. You're gonna press on that. And then there's a little magnifying glass that says search profile. And then you just search charitylowsart, Lowe's Art. And then all my stuff will pop up. But the most important thing is my references and stencils are going to be here too, which you're more than welcome to use for your projects or just for learning purposes. So there. That's how you get to my profile. Okay, well that I don't know what skipped, but I'll go over it again another day. Everything over again another day. Sorry about that. Okay, I'm going to just change something here. It might cut out for a minute and hopefully it will come back and run better. Okay, hopefully that will work. Camera quality went down, so I apologize for that, but something's going on with my internet. Just give me a minute. Still trying to figure things out here. Sorry about this. I don't usually have this many problems. Okay, so moving on to the right eye, and we're gonna work on the shadows. So there's like a shadow that tapers from being small in the corner of the eye and gets larger to where the eyebrow is. I'm just using the 4H pencil with light pressure and circular motions. And then it's darker on the right corner of this eye and darker in the center of that eyelid underneath the eyelid, like underneath the crease. And then building up that shadow between the eyebrows, just above the eyebrow and between them, because I don't think it's dark enough. taking my toilet paper and blending it out because I want it to be nice and soft. That's why I'm using the toilet paper. I think I might take the small blending stump to get that darker shadow going. That's where it's the bridge of the nose to the eyebrow. And now we can do the creases of the eyelid. I'm taking the mechanical pencil and just lightly putting pressure on that lid, well, pressure on the paper, because we don't need a lot. I'm going to do a little bit more of a shadow right here, just a little darker. And then blending with the small blending stump, just going with the direction of the line. And I think that's not too dark, so I don't think I need to take my knead eraser like I did the other one. And now I'm gonna do the lash line first, and then we can add the eyelashes second. And then I'm just gonna flick that outwards. Just that one corner, it's just poking out a little bit. And then the rest of the hairs are going downwards. Then we're gonna blend that line, just soften up that line that we created to indicate the shape of the face and the cheeks, the forehead, from the background. And then we're going to do the really dark hairs. They're more like elongated shapes, so don't worry about doing individual lines. We can add that on the top layer for here and there just to make more texture, but we're not worried about that right now. So I'm just doing the very obvious lines of the dark, sections of the really dark with the watercolor pencil. It's a good thing I also have a backup mic, because my one camera that's connected to a mic is gone. So I gotta pull that up a bit because I'm missing a whole section. Move the camera so I can see that section I missed. And I'm going to take an 4B pencil to fill in those areas that are still pretty dark, but they're not black. And I'm just focusing on the shapes more than the hair texture at this point. I'm still doing like strokes that are following that direction. And I'm going to take my big blending stump and just going to push that into the paper. Okay, time for, well, let me see. We can do a little bit of the backgrounds here. So I'm going to take the 4H pencil and just add some shadowing just right beside the eye here. We're just working on making it the right shade. Just taking my toilet paper and just blending it. I'm doing much bigger blending with this because it's pretty soft background. It is fur. And back with the 4H pencil, I'm just going to work on some of those little details, the darker areas. Still pretty soft lines, so I'm doing circular motions instead of lines, just nice and soft circular motions to make those details. And then some at the top here, which I think they're actually stray hairs, but I'm going to just assume, or not, well, like, I think they're stray hairs, but I'm going to just treat them like the background because it's got a very similar look. So I'm just taking the small blending stump and just softening those up a little bit more. It's a very small area, so I could have waited until I got the bigger picture, but yeah. Now I'm going to take my mechanical pencil for those stray hairs. Doing those really dark ones first. Really dark areas. And then just, I'm gonna shape that up a little bit more right here. And then just some other little stray hairs. Can be a little bit more relaxed with this section. Little baby hairs for the baby. Just really light pressure because they don't need to be, they're not very dark, so. I'm just gonna blend off the edges, like the tips of those hairs. There we go. Just softening up the edges. Now I think that's good. Just taking another look. Actually, I forgot to add a little bit of eyelashes. I'm actually going to use the 4H, and they're just really in the center. So I'm just going to add not too many, just to indicate that she does have some eyebrows, and super light. Looks like you can see the hairs. Did the volume go down? It's just a small detail. It's just a very small detail. I'm looking at the picture as a whole, and there's a section that's really bothering me, which is right here. I'm not going to look at the reference photo, but I'm going to drag some of that black hairs to kind of fill in and make that less of a square shape. Okay, I think that's better. That's not bugging me as much. Okay, now we're moving on to the next section. I'm just going to see where the details that I've done are. They're right there, okay. Because I want to try to make this so it looks cohesive and it's not any lines between these things. But it looks like we are starting the teddy bear, and it's not very dark for the most part. I'm going to work on the dark shadows that are on the lower part of this section with the HB pencil and circular motions. And I'm just doing the bigger shapes that are created by the different shades. And then also the shading of, which I want to take a look to see what this, I'm going to take a bigger look. It looks like the bow. That is the bow. There is some writing on the bow. So that's what those little lines are. And then just lightly add some shadowing. Just very light pressure. It's not as dark. Well, it's kind of the same shade as the other part, but there's a highlight in between the two to make, which makes it I'm trying to think of the word, not wording. There's a line that separates the two objects or different textures. So that's a highlight right in between there. I'm taking the 4H and I'm just going to add a little bit, making that light area just a smudge darker than what it is already. Just circular motions, light pressure, makes it easy for blending. I'm just taking my toilet paper and just blending that all in. Even you can blend it to the top section that you did earlier. We can add some more details now, still using the 4H pencil because the details are still quite light. Just doing some circular motions and just trying to catch all the little, well, as many as the fur texture that you can see. It is actually darker on the bottom part, so we can change the pencil to something else. I think pretty soon I'm going to change it to a mechanical pencil. No, I think the 4H pencil is doing just fine. Just adding a little bit more pressure where it's darker. And then taking my small blending stump and just softening up those little sections there with tight circular motions. I feel like I need to make the section that's closest to the face a little darker still. So I'm just gonna layer some more on there. So another thing I learned is that graphite pencils aren't all just graphite. And graphite is graphite's like carbon, and then it's mixed in with clay, and the clay is what makes the pencil harder. So it's half and half would be HB, and then the H would have more clay in it than the B. And then, well, yeah, clay in it than the graphite, and then the other one has more graphite than clay. I'm going to take the HB pencil because I want to darken up that the bow some more. And that shadow, the shadow that's beside it on the fur, I want to darken that up a little bit too. There is a few little highlights that I see, one on the fur. It's actually a little bit on the fur here and there. So I'm just going to take the mechanical eraser and just pick up some of those highlights. And then also a line that's between the shadow of the fur and the bow. Take the mechanical eraser and get those little details on the bow. Taking the small blending stump and just softening up those little details, going in the direction of the lines, not the opposite direction. And then moving over to the next part, we'll work on the fur. I'm gonna use the HB pencil with really light pressure. I think this is actually the bow. I'm just trying to focus on the bigger shapes, and we can work on the finer details later. And I'm using the 4H pencil just to darken up those lighter areas ever so slightly. Just circular motions and light pressure, just trying to catch the subtle differences between the shades. And taking the toilet paper and just blending that all. And we're going to take we're still going to use the 4H pencil for the for the details. Just circular motions, not doing lines, we're still doing like little tiny shapes. And then taking the smaller blending stump and just softening those up a little bit more, circular motions, but staying really close to the shape that we've created with this. I'm looking to see if there's any highlights in the fur, and I don't really see them, so we can move on to the bow. Just some circular, soft strokes, because we want it to blend very easily. We're just looking for those shapes. Everything's a shape. Just looking for the shapes within the shades. Putting a little bit more pressure inside this bow, in the loop of the bow, because it's darker there. And then it slowly gets lighter as it goes up. And then the center is the lightest, and then it gets dark again at the very top. Sometimes it's best not to see the drawing as a whole, so that you're more focused on the smaller stuff. But sometimes it is better to see the drawing as a whole so that you have a better understanding on exactly what you are drawing. You just got to find the balance between the two. Go back and forth. A little bit more pressure in the darker areas. I am really trying to get all the little different shapes here. I'm kind of focusing on the darkest areas first, but you do what makes sense to your brain. Everybody's brain works differently, so that therefore everybody works differently with art as well. Okay, I'm going to go for the second darkest areas with lighter pressure, still using the HB pencil. Circular motions. Might add a little bit more darker shades in some areas to keep the structure. And then I'm going to go in with the 4H pencil for some of those even lighter areas. I'll put quite a bit of pressure on it. Circular motions because we want to be able to blend this nice and easily once we're done shading it in. Okay, just gonna try to clean off my bigger blending stump with, where did it go? With the sandpaper that is falling apart. I just did the darker areas. I'm going to take the toilet paper for the lighter areas. Don't ask me why at this point. I just think it's the better option. I don't really know why. Okay, so we're gonna take the the mechanical eraser. And we're gonna sculpt those lines, which are the edges of the ribbon. Just those highlighted sections that we're doing. And then I'm going to take the mechanical pencil and just get some of those little details that are darker. Even doing some outlining against the white edges that we just did to give it more of a contrast, make it look a little bit more 3D. And take the small blending stem because I just fixed up the shape of a certain area. So I'm just trying to fill in that white area that I needed to fill in. I just said the same word in the same sentence to describe the same thing. I probably do that a lot. Okay, I think that's good. I'm just gonna kind of sculpt that edge there a little bit so that we can distinguish that of being the bow. And now we can work on the next section, which is on the edge. And this part we actually get to work on the fur of the bear, but we'll work on the background fur first. I just realized another thing. I should plug in one of my cameras because it looks like it's gonna die. So we're gonna take the HB pencil and we're gonna work on that shadow that's just behind the bear. First, I'm gonna kind of sculpt out the shape of the bear. It's really dark in this corner here, and then it gets lighter in the center. So just light pressure. We're going to take the 4H pencil and just make the rest of it just ever so slightly darker than what it already is. There are some subtle differences in the shade. So you can try to mimic those as well while we're doing this, while we're making it darker. I'm going to take my toilet paper and blend that out, including the little details that are just behind the bear. There's not a whole bunch of detail in the fur right here. I think the camera's a little bit blurred in that section, but I am going to be adding a little bit more, like just darkening up this area a little bit more. And take my small blending stump, and we're just going to soften that up. Okay, now we are going to work on the bear. HB pencil and getting some of those darker areas. Circular motions, but kind of following the direction of the fur. So like thick lines, nice thick lines. Also trying to find the different shapes. And trying to recreate those shapes. And I'm just gonna blend it, but pushing upward with the toilet paper. I think I'm gonna use a little bit of the black watercolor for some of these darker shadows here. Okay, I'm gonna go and use the 4B pencil. And still working with those really dark areas for this, but this is just to soften it up. Blend in the really dark areas. And then the HB pencil. I'm just really trying to mimic the photograph as best as you can. Please spot the difference. I'm just gonna finish up with finish up with this section here. And I'm going to take the small blending stump and just follow the direction of the fur. Take the toilet paper and kind of push it up. And pick up some of the highlights. And I think we're good. So thank you for watching. I really do appreciate everybody who watches, everybody who comments and likes. If you continue to do that, I can continue to do these lessons for you. Again, if you don't have the app and you want to try the app for free for a year, you can use Charity, all caps, for the iOS devices, or for Android, you need to contact me. So the best way to contact me is through my Facebook page or my email. My Facebook page is charitylowsart, and my email is posted in the description. So I can give you your personalized one-time use code. And yeah, I think that's it. And tell me what you guys want me to do for future videos in the comments, and I will do that for you. You guys have a wonderful day, and don't stop creating.